everyone, this is CJNovo992 and today we're back for another brand new video, and today's video arrives to us as expected. If I'm honest, a lot of us envisioned this day and a lot of us actually hoped and prayed for this day as well, and now that the days actually came, it feels a bit sad. It's almost like when you order a Chinese, ladies and gentlemen. The thought of it is great, the excitement, the anticipation is great. Then it arrives and you're a bit like, now I'll be honest with you, ladies and gentlemen, did I know that when I dropped the hello everyone, I would soon, within 30 seconds, compare a couple icons, couple very long servants and two genuine legends of this football club to the thought and anticipation of ordering a Chinese? No, never. But we continue here. We're not redoing the intro, as we're obviously here to discuss the players whose contracts that won't be renewed. And it's a bit blockbuster news. Now, addressing the elephant in the room, of course we have a couple content out like this already on the channel, as we made an individual series on these players leaving the football club. The likes of Ryan Kent Morelos, and yesterday's upload of Scotty Arfield has been done, and it's just focusing in on them. So if you are interested in a wee bit more long form content to find out what went right and more importantly what went wrong, especially in the case of Ryan Kent and Alfredo Morelos, it's all right here on the channel. I'll link it and I'll put it somewhere if you want to see a bit more detail on their Rangers careers, because we're not going to do a deep dive in every single bit and every ball that they kick, because we've done that on the channel. Instead, we're actually just going to come here, discuss, react to the news and just speak about the players for a minute or two as we start to envision what this club's going to look like at the start of next season, as we well and truly have started to ring the changes. And I think we'll start off with a player that we didn't actually make an individual video on himself, and that's of course going to be Big Phil Helander, which again is not going to be a surprise to anyone, especially if you watch this channel for a little while. We've discussed it. I think we talked about it about November or December. This was already a done deal in that fact of moving on. Fair man Phil, and it's honestly a real shame with this one, because I think if you ask any Rangers fans who's been some of our best defenders over the last donkeys, I'm sure Helander will come to the conversation, because when he was able to be on that park, he was absolutely frightening. And it shows you how cool football can actually be, because not only was it his peak of his powers, if you will, in terms of Rangers at the point when he ended up getting injured, not only scoring a winner versus Celtic in the Old Firm when half the team was out with COVID and Gerrard was sitting there playing football manager in slippers, he was leading that young team to beating Celtic, got that goal, but he was also doing it at the international level as well. And I think the international thing is often overlooked, but for me it backs up and echoes what we've just said. He was at his peak of his powers when it was all ripped away from him, because again he had broke in to the starting 11 for Sweden, starting to be a guy, starting to play some games, and that's how cruel football can actually be. 28-year-old and not seeing a football part for another 2 years, and what's scary people is he still doesn't seem anywhere near ready to play football. It's a terrible shame what happened to Phil Helander, because on his day he was a great defender and a great player, but he just couldn't get on the park. He ends up leaving Rangers having played just 60 times in total, which was actually a surprise when you seen it, but the injury bug followed him and ended up getting a bad one towards his run. He ended up with 7 goals, however, showing he was one of the few defenders to actually be able to get a header on target and cause threat during those seasons, and he picked up 1 assist as well during his run. But he'll probably be remembered as being a Stuart right next to Connor Goldson, the quiet assassin, if you will, and a vital part in a record-breaking Rangers defence during an undefeated league campaign. And that's how we'll remember Big Phil, and I just hope wherever he goes next, he is actually able to get on the park. You know, he's not anywhere near ready to do that just yet, but fingers crossed he goes on to play football again, because he was a great player, and hopefully gets back on the football part no matter what level that ends up being. Next up, we obviously have Scotty saluting Arfield, and yes, we did make a video on him in less than 24 hours ago, but I felt like he needed his own video and he deserved his own video. Now, I'm not going to sit here and repeat everything we talked about. That was obviously a long form content. There was a lot in there, speaking the ups, the downs, the everythings regarding Scotty. So if you do want to give this man the respect I personally think he deserves, go ahead and click that video, follow his Rangers career, follow his Rangers journey, and summarise the man up. I'm not just sitting here promoting my own content. I feel like everyone's losing their mind at the Moreloses, the Kents and everything like that, but the guy for me that I'm actually really gutted about, that I'm sad that he's leaving, is Scotty, because he always turned up to work. He was never unfit, he never spat the dummy, he was never hot and cold. He came in, worked his arse off and gave everything there is that he could give to the football club. Again, it wasn't always enough for any of that, but he worked his arse. You never worried about his attitude, never spat the dummy out. So for me, Scotty Arfield will be a real loss, and I'm sure he was a fantastic guy to have around the actual dressing room as well, and I wish him all the best. So if you do want more information on Scotty, go ahead and check yesterday's video. But to give you a brief little summary, his entire Rangers career, he played 231 games up until tomorrow, of course, grabbing 49 goals and having 19 assists. He also scored a goalie one time and ruined an Aberdeen managerial career, which is always enjoyable. So to Scotty, we salute you. Next, we move on to someone I've been quite blatantly a fanboy of since he's pretty much came in the door at Rangers, and I've defended and argued and been a silly fanboy this entire time. It is, of course, none other than Ryan Kent. Some might say Kenticles, but for me, it's far too soon, and it's a very strange situation we actually find ourselves in. Obviously made that video a month ago because it was quite clear to me he wouldn't be given a new contract. So again, we've discussed him in detail, but now that the deal's actually done and it's been said and he is moving on, I do find myself a little bit gutted, but I didn't feel gutted in the way as, oh, I wish he would have stayed. I'm just gutted in the way it actually ended, if that makes sense, because to me, even being a Ryan Kent fanboy, I know it is time for Ryan Kent to actually move on now. I'm not going to sit here and be lost in maybe the recency bias and call this laddie this and call this laddie that, because that's no for me. I think he's been a fantastic servant to this football club. Again, haven't played a lot of games, got in there, done his actual job, turned up and performed here and everything like that. So for me, I'm not going to get lost in the recency bias. It obviously ended terribly for Ryan Kent, and it is a little bit sour, but I'm sure over time we'll start to appreciate what Ryan Kent actually gave us, and that is a lot of magical moments. I just wish for the majority of his Rangers career that maybe we had someone on the right hand side half as capable and half as talented as Ryan Kent, and then maybe, ladies and gentlemen, he wouldn't have spent his entire Rangers career double marked, constantly having two men on him and kicked for pillar to post. But even though he was filled more than any Rangers player I've ever seen in terms of his run over the last 5 years, got up, done his job. For me, I know the European run and everything like that, we'll get the McGregor had some great saves and we'll speak about that. Tavernier won the Golden Boot, but for the real X factor, in my opinion, on why we made a European final, it was Ryan Kent. And that's who everybody was talking about. Every oppositional manager, every pundit on the telly, they were talking about Kent because they understood the talent he had, and he was the difference maker in getting us going. And that's what I'll remember, especially the European performances, the big goals versus Celtic. When he was at it, he was as good as anything I've seen in a long time. It's just a real shame that it's went. And I don't know if I should really be saying this type of thing, but obviously being a Ryan Kent fanboy and everything like that, I think it all went wrong for Kent, and for me it did start to decline sharply, was the European final, if I'm honest, and I think that's maybe stuck with him in a way. You know, that miss and everything like that, people could talk whether the ball was out or anything like that, but there's just something in that moment that I think just went on, and after seeing maybe the emotional outpour of a Hadji given the 16 months of hell, I think people are starting to be a bit more appreciative that these guys, they're actually humans, they carry these emotions, these carry these feelings, and we know what that felt like in the European final and having that opportunity to burst the back of net. And I don't know, I just didn't think Ryan Kent's ever been the same. I don't know if that's nonsense or if anybody's going to agree with me in the comments, but even after that, when he did score, he didn't have the same buzz about him or the same enthusiasm. Something changed, and I just think that he's needed this change, not only because of the grind of the SPFL, but just to get away for that scenario, because for me, I think he still carries that miss, and maybe getting away, moving on to a club will take some of that weight off and he can get back to enjoying his football, because it hasn't looked to me like he's been enjoying his football since that day, and hopefully he can get back to enjoying it elsewhere. And whoever gets him, and if they get him back at his best, I'll be cheering him on and hoping he does very, very well. But that's my thoughts on Ryan Kent. That's my opinion on the laddie. I wish him nothing but the best, and he leaves the football club having played 218 games, scoring 33 goals and grabbing 57 assists. He was vital, he was big in moments. We discussed that in our video where I think he is underappreciated, but that is it regarding the man. Leaves an undefeated league champion, vital part in a European final, and obviously won the Scottish Cup as well. Good luck to Ryan Kent, and hopefully gets back to enjoying the old football. Next up, we have someone who splits everyone down the middle, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I mean? It's like the old left and rights, if you get my drift. Alfredo Morelos, and I don't know, you know, it's a weird one because I know so many people's upset and I know so many people sad, and I know I need to watch what I'm saying in today's video. But all I will say is, and I'll be nice about it, is I've been ready to get off this roller coaster of Alfredo Morelos, the off-field, the craziness, the annoyances, the unfit, the underprepared, blah 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 nonsense cycle that we always get, and then he plays well for a couple of months, we're all in love, we say if he can keep like that he'll be great, and then he drops off again, and it's like, see that roller coaster? I've been ready to get off that roller coaster for a wee while, but as I sat here and said in his own individual video, that's taken nothing away from what this man gave us in his first 3 seasons at this football club. He well and truly put us on his back, and we went as far as Alfredo Morelos carried us. People, yes, I'm sour towards the end. Yes, I'm fed up. Yes, I've been bored of the scenario and the sideshow for the last year and a bit. Yes, we should have sold him to Leo when we had the bid on the table, and I think we'll all look back at that and always regret that. But that's taken nothing away from what this lad gave us. When he was at it, when he was focused, he was absolutely must see, and he provided us with so many big memories, so many big games, and I dragged us, especially the first 3 years. This football club would have been a hell of a lot worse off than where it would have been if we never signed and had a Morelos through those early years back in the SPFL. Took pelters, took poundings for the media, constantly took the worst digs I've ever seen anyone's ever had, which I imagine carried some weight and all that as well, and affected him in certain ways. But he battled and he fought, and he gave us so many good memories. And again, when the cycle had reached the Morelos that cares, he was absolutely sensational. It was the other stuff that went, and again, I'm not really getting into it because I don't think this is really the time or period, but returning back late for international duty without kicking a minute, we end up getting knocked out of a cup for it and everything. There's been loads of nonsense with it, and I'm quite relieved that we're actually finally moving on and we won't have that sideshow. But I'm not going to sit here and act like I won't miss in a couple months when all the dust settles and all the feelings hang out. When I sit back and I watch the highlights, when I see the 42 goal contributions in 48 games for Morelos in the 18-19 season, I'll sit here and say, by God, Daniel miss that mad son of a gun, ladies and gentlemen. So Alfredo, hopefully wherever you move on to next, they get the best of Morelos and he could go on to have a phenomenal career. Hopefully that's the case, and of course I'm going to keep an eye on the lad, because even when he's bad, he's still must watch. So it's going to be very interesting to follow which career path Morelos actually bees, and good luck to the old Buffalo, but it has and has been for a while. Time. He leaves the football club having become an all-time European goal scorer and 268 games under his belt, which is very, very impressive, with a whopping 124 goals and 58 assists. But that doesn't even begin to tell you the story. Go and check the Morelos video if you really want, especially in the first 3 years. The boy was unplayable in games, and obviously leaves having won a league title, big games versus Dortmund as well, before ending up getting injured. And I'll probably be always one of those ifs, buts or maybes, but I just feel like if we had him in that final, it would probably ended up different, and that's the best compliment you can give him. When the lights go brightest in European football, you saw the best of the laddie. I just think he lost interest in the mundane grind of the SPFL, and that's what soured a lot of our feelings. And last but certainly not least, even though Stephen Davis is mentioned here, by the way, but the club's going to work with him until he's fully rehabilitated from his injury, then a decision will be made. Plus, spoiler alert, I'm going to be making a career retrospective on Davies in the next couple of weeks, along with my next guy, because these guys, you know, my heroes, you know what I mean? I've really enjoyed a Ryan Kent, I've really enjoyed a Morelos and everything like that, but when you look up legends, for me, the two names, Stephen Davis and McGregor, deserves to be on that list. And we're going to speak about McGregor now because, again, the decision's not been fully made on Davies. We'll discuss that down the line. Let's talk about my hero then, shall we? And I think the best compliment you can actually give Alan McGregor is, I would argue to a lot of people, I think he's actually been better the second time around than he was the first time. I thought he came back and I think he matured a lot. I think he was a lot calmer in situations because he was frightening in his first sale. He was unbelievable, the Samaras penalty. I still remember to this day that it's built in to my DNA. The gut punch feeling when I thought Werder Bremen had scored that goal, and then seeing McGregor somehow tip onto the bar, and just the next 30 seconds that I'll never get over, because just being utterly confused and be like, did he save that? Like that, I'll always remember that. But still, I think the second time, despite all the magic, the first spell, I thought he was unbelievable and played his best ever season in a Rangers shirt during the 2021 season, in my personal opinion. And again, I'm going to have my own individual breaking them down season upon season. It will be a long video, but all I'm going to say right now regarding McGregor is he came, he saw, he conquered. You know what I mean? He came back and also done the exact same thing, helping us get back to the pinnacle of Scottish football, massive in Europe as well. Some people forget the big save, the penalty save in the early stages of that Europa League run. He was unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. And yes, it's obviously declined over the last year, but that's what happens. We should never have been in a position we were overly reliant on a 41 year old legend of this club. The club failed McGregor. McGregor never failed this club, and having to put him and play him in games when he should have been having his feet up, relaxing, enjoying some cocktails, that was the fault of the club. But again, put the gloves on and gave it his all, even when again he started to decline in several key and obvious areas. But I'll always remember him for the good periods, in my personal opinion. I absolutely love the guy. He's given me so many good memories and so many smiles. So Alan McGregor is unbelievable. And as we know, he doesn't like the nickname Shagger and everything like that anymore. So dare I say, ladies and gentlemen, because he'll always be linked and he'll always have this connection with Andy Gorham, who is rightly remembered as the goalie, right? And he deserves that. He's phenomenal, the greatest of all time, still, in my personal opinion. But I think he's always going to be forever linked with Alan McGregor. So dare I say, maybe we start remembering McGregor, because we can't use the nickname he doesn't like, as just the keeper. Ladies and gentlemen, they sit at the same table and they'll always be discussed. Some people think McGregor's better, some people think Gorham's better. They'll always be interlinked, and I think that would be a sort of nice way to remember, especially the fact that I know he doesn't like the other nickname. So that could be something, and that's how I'll start to remember. I'll probably sometimes the majority be the S word, but the goalie and the keeper sit here at the upper echelons of this football club as two of the greatest to ever pull on a pair of gloves. And he leaves Rangers right now, as I'm currently recording today's video, before he plays on Wednesday, or if he plays versus St Mirren, having played 486 games, 216 clean sheets during that period, 4 SPFL titles, 4 Scottish Cups, 5 League Cups, and 2 European finals. Ladies and gentlemen, he's helped us get to 2 European finals. I love the guy. That's all I'm going to say, and I can't wait to sit and just get lost in the McGregor career retrospective. It's going to be absolutely sensational. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the players that's officially leaving the football club, and that's my thoughts and opinions on each player. I'd love to see what you think of each player. That would be sensational just to see. I think a lot of them deserve that respect. And honestly, if you are still watching today's video, I'd love to know one memory of Phil Helander, one memory of Scotty Arfield, one memory of Ken, Morelos and Alan McGregor. If you can let me know down in the comments, that would be absolutely sensational, because we all get lost maybe negativity and everything like that, and I know negativity spreads quicker than positivity, but let's just scroll down to the comments and put smiles on Rangers fan faces. Let's see a memory of each of the players. That would be absolutely sensational. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, until tomorrow after the game, I've been CJ Nova92. Thank you so much for watching, and bye.